And welcome to another episode of Mount Josmore. I'm your host, Joz. You guys know the drill. Mount Josmore, I name a topic and give you my top four in no particular order per se, but it's my top of whatever category it may be. Usually start with some honorable mentions, and just kind of ask the question, where do some of these fall on your list? Do they make your Mount Rushmore of this particular genre? Things like that. So first and foremost, you guys know the drill. If you agree, disagree, if there's something I missed, feel free to comment below. Like, follow, share, subscribe, tell everybody about it. Let's get more people talking. And the other part of that is, the one thing I do ask everybody is just be respectful in the comments. I haven't had a whole lot of it so far. I also haven't done a whole lot of hot topic debates. I know some of my smaller, little quick hit videos have sparked some things, but nobody needs to be an a-hole in the comments section. There's enough of that. Don't be that guy. And the other part of this is, this is my list, which means I can't miss. That means this is my opinion, and I am entirely entitled to it, just like you are. And you can feel free to share your opinion with me via the comment section. Just be respectful about it. Nobody's trying to do anything. Nobody wants to be that guy. Nobody needs that guy in their life, and nobody should want to be that guy. So this week's topic is going to be businesses that are no longer around that I would bring back, right? So my top four, my Mount Rushmore of businesses that are no longer around that I would like to see come back. And I did have a couple friends chime in on this over on my Instagram. Just so you know, I'm probably getting rid of my Twitter, Joz says. I don't really use it. So I work for, I do social media stuff on for a couple places I work for. And this is my personal account. I don't really use it. And it's getting to a point where it's just stupid to even have it. So probably going to be getting rid of that. So that might disappear, but still notorious_Joz on Instagram and Jaws of Life 25 on TikTok. Well, TikTok still exists. You never know when that's going to happen again. So a couple of people did chime in on Instagram with a couple things, and I remember one of them off the top of my head. I don't remember the other, so bear with me for 2 seconds while I look it back up here, because I posted on a story, asked for... All right, we're good. Got them both. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about my my honorable mentions here. First one I have to put on, and I'm going to go first with this one because I loved it. It was a great place. I enjoyed going there as a kid. I do know that places like this went downhill severely and a lot of places have in recent times, mostly because of the animalistic nature of people. Generally speaking, we kind of suck, and people are slobs. Also, the whole pandemic thing didn't help with this type of setup for a restaurant. But I was a big fan of Old Country Buffet when it was around. I don't know if they still exist in other parts of the country. Where I am in Western New York, Old Country Buffet is not a thing anymore. I do know that Golden Corral exists, and it's, I think, maybe considered a little bit higher class, a little bit nicer than Old Country Buffet. We had one here in my area growing up, and it was something that we always went to when my aunt and uncle and 4 cousins came into town, because grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, me, sister, aunt, uncle, 4 cousins, a lot of people. Easiest way to feed a lot of people and make them happy, all you can eat buffet. I really liked it. Obviously the ice cream at the end, where you could top it how you want, do that up how you want it. All of those things, all great stuff. And but at the end of the day, a place like this, not the cleanest, as working people care less, don't get paid enough to care more. Things went downhill. I think the last time I was at one was on a baseball tournament, and you were kind of picky about what you ate and when in regards to when you saw it come out, and there was just food everywhere. It looked like the feeding trough. It looked like just people pouring slop and pigs going on and going after it. So Probably that's why it's on on the bottom of my honorable mention list. It was great, but not necessarily perfect. In that same vein, and this was a great place, not because it wasn't just a buffet place. So Old Country Buffet just had buffets, right? It was just multiple buffet stations. I don't think you could go there and order anything off a menu. It was, you went there for the buffet. That was it. Like, you just went in, you sat down, like, you paid when you walked in, how many people, pay, go. This place had a buffet, and you had the option of doing the salad bar or the full buffet. So you could do the salad bar and get an entree off the menu, or you could do the dinner buffet. They were a breakfast place too. They had great breakfast. This was one of my favorite places to go to with my grandma when I was younger, because there was one right around the corner from her house. Perkins. I believe there are still some Perkins around. I know, so I live in the suburbs of Buffalo, New York. I know for the longest time it's not the thruway. So like, we have I-90, we call it the 90, the 290, the 990, like anything 90 is the New York State Thruway. We have other highways and stuff that connect to different things and stuff. It's not huge, we're not a huge city by any means, with major 5-lane one-way highways or anything. But we refer to it as the 219, and it goes out into the south towns, down toward like Ellicottville and stuff, and it would drop off, like the thruway portion of it, or the interstate looking portion of it, would drop off in Springville, to the best of my knowledge. And there was a Perkins there for a long time when there were no other ones in the area. I don't know if that one's still around, but because they're not commonplace, especially in my area, this makes my list, because one, they could still be around somewhere that I'm unaware of, but also, it was a childhood thing for me. It was a big one there that I remember and I really liked. And the buffet, my favorite thing of the buffet, and this may be weird, but you get a salad, right? You get the salad, cheese, croutons, and then you can turn around and do, say, they had you get bacon bits, you put your dressing on. The go-to for me that made this different than any other salad was the cubed pieces of ham. Just little tiny squares, little boxes of ham. I don't know why they were so damn good, but you put them on every salad and they were fantastic. And that's the thing that I remember from the Perkins buffet. That was the best part. They also did like the ice cream station too, which, as a kid who doesn't love the ice cream station, where you can put all your own toppings on. You mean I can have sprinkles and Oreos and cookie dough and yes, you can have it all. I don't know why you would. At some point, it's too much. And the bowls were tiny, like little tiny saucers. Can't give away the house. You got to make you go up 4 times to get your fill of ice cream. But I digress. We're going to get off the restaurant side of things here. Actually, no, we're not. I got one more. And this one came as a suggestion on my Instagram page. So shout out to my friends on Instagram who follow and, play along from time to time. And I don't remember a ton about this place, but it's not on my, it doesn't make the Mount Rushmore for me, because there's still places like this in the area. And it's just your standard chain burger joint, right? So Fuddruckers. Fuddruckers is the, again, and I know it's not around here, which is kind of where I'm going with it. It's not in my life. And to me, if I have to travel to go to it, it doesn't exist. If I have to travel outside, my world, if I were on a trip for something and oh, look, there's a Perkins, or, oh, look, there's an Old Country Buffet. In my world, they're not here. They're not where I am. I can't actively just get in the car and go less than 20 minutes to go to one. So Fuddruckers may still exist somewhere. It doesn't exist in my area. And to me, that one, they make the honorable mention because they were good. And a lot of these burger places, they were very Red Robin-ish. We had Fuddruckers in this area before we had Red Robin. And all these places have their gimmicks, right? Like the different bottomless drinks, or I want to say it's Red Robin does the bottomless steak fries. You can just keep getting them running. Maybe that was Fuddruckers. I don't know. Maybe that's what put them out of business. Maybe just giving away fries on the house, like in the big thick steak fries, not even like the crinkle cuts. But there's a lot of these places. To me, Fuddruckers is in the same conversation, not maybe not the same level, but in the same conversation as like a Chili's, an Applebee's, like a Ruby Tuesdays, a Chi-Chi's, Red Robin, that whole thing. And that was like those things were huge at one point. And now like Applebee's are closing. Half of the things I just mentioned aren't around here anymore either. Yeah. So I wouldn't bring Fuddruckers back necessarily. It's worth mentioning because I do remember going there and I do remember it being good. But again, to me, it's just, insert burger joint here. Like, insert non-fast food burger joint here. Like, what are you known for? Oh, we're a burger joint. So you're McDonald's. No, we're better than that, but we're a burger joint. Those places. I'm going to lump three together. Then I have two to lump together, and then one more before we get to Mount Josmore, so stay with me here. These three, and I'm sure there's more, but these are the three that I remember off the top of my head, are like in order of how I'm gonna say them, are increasingly more either rare or gone for the longest period of time. Kmart, Hills, and Ames, which Ames I believe was technically Amanese. I don't know. Maybe that's a Mandela effect thing from my childhood, or maybe that's something like somebody in my family called it that, and that just stuck. I do find in my life that there are a lot of, I call them strange Polishisms that have happened in my world that I thought were like, that was just a thing, and it turned out I was wrong. Whatever. I've been wrong in the past. It's happened before. It'll happen again. But like these predicated Walmart, right? So Walmart became what these places were, right? Like they were like department stores, I think, is what you would technically call them. I remember going, like we would go to Ames or go to Hills when I was a kid, and I remember like specifically getting some of like my Power Ranger action figures from this place. So they had like a toy section, they had clothes, they had, like think of the non-grocery portion and the like just a normal Walmart. So not a super Walmart with the grocery side, not like the, oh my God, I'm blanking on the word. The garden section, landscaping section. Sure, one of those two. When you look at something like that, like they didn't have those. They had like some things that could go toward that, but they didn't have a full blown section. Like I don't remember Hills or Ames having groceries. Like you'd have to go to Tops for that. Like you can go to Walmart and you can get Christmas toys, you can get electronics, you can get paint and car oil and baby clothes and do your grocery shopping. Like, and if you've been in some of these Walmarts, like they have the attached, like they have their deli, which a lot of them have if they have the grocery store, but they have like a Subway, or like some of them have like eye doctors, maybe not eye doctors, but like glasses sales for prescription glasses, optometrists, maybe that's what I'm going for. Thomas the Turtle. I don't know if that might be a Western New York pull too. Sorry. But yeah, like they had those, like Hills and Ames had like a small interior food court where like they made like burgers and fries and stuff like that. And after a while, like you would go and they wouldn't be open, like, cause they didn't sell enough. So like, it didn't make sense to put people in there all the time. So, and like you see places like Target have a Starbucks inside of it, but like that's its own brand. So like there have been, like I know that there are people who will walk into Target to go to Starbucks because it is the most convenient Starbucks for them to get to. There's no drive-through, so they have to park and walk in, but it's more convenient than going to the one on the corner that is hell to get into and even more hell to get out of. But it wasn't the same. Like these places, Ames at Hill specifically, I remember having like a food court, like you could order food and sit, and it was burgers and fries, right? It wasn't anything crazy. They usually had like the super pretzels, the like nachos with cheese, slushies, slush puppies maybe, ices were big, those types of things. Kmart didn't have those things, but the thing I remember the most about Kmart is like they had this magic thing called layaway where like if you were with mom and dad and they were getting a gift, like they would find a way to like pull you away. Like one of them would take you to another section away from the thing you wanted, and then your other parent would like take it, go put it on layaway, where like you put a deposit down on it and they put it off to the side for you, and then you came back and paid for it later. Like, oh, I don't have the money for this right now, but hang on, I will, which was awesome. You know, nowadays we just have Afterpay, so you get it and you pay for it over time. But yeah, that was, you know, those places all eventually led to Walmart and what we see now as these super centers. But they were interesting because they had more but less at the same time. So like bigger selections of less things. Yeah, let's go with that. Moving on to my next one, and this one is not okay. So, and the reason those aren't on the full Mount Rushmore, Mount Josmore, is we don't need them, right? Online shopping has basically killed in-person shopping. That's why places like Walmart are like still exist, but those other stores, like we don't need those things, you know. And the more things you can put in one place, the more sense it makes. I digress. These next two, putting them together because they were kind of the same thing. I think one is more of a national brand and one was more local to Western New York, but they were the same idea. And the reason I wouldn't bring them back necessarily, like, but they're worth mentioning, is because I'm too old, and it's not something I could go to and enjoy anymore. But I did when I was younger. I had a Power Rangers birthday party at one of these places, Leaps and Bounds and or Discovery Zone. If you've ever seen the old school style McDonald's / Burger King play places, right? The tube slides, the ball pit, it was that on steroids. Like some of the stuff that, like, I think Chuck E. Cheese has some of that stuff too, but like this stuff was like the minimal arcade. It was more the adventure, the tubes, the climbing, the ball pit, the slides, like huge erector set style jungle gym of doom. You know, they had the original zip lining where it was like just the thing on the slide that you'd hang on to, push off, and go from one end to the other. And those, like, that thing was so fun. It was meant to be a way to get from one side to the other, but like people would just line up on each side, just go back and forth because it was fun to do. Like 10, 20 feet at most. You know, they all kinds of stuff. I want to say Leaps and Bounds had more like of the plastic tubing stuff. I think Discovery Zone had some like Nickelodeon Guts, like the padded climbing stuff that you could like, and if you fell off it didn't hurt. You would just like ragdoll down, and like as long as you didn't like hit your head in a weird way, you were gonna be fine. Or stick your arm out and catch it on something, but like it was because it was soft, so you just kind of like bounce down these pillowy cushion blocks, which was fun. But yeah, those places were cool, and they try to do things like that with like trampolines and stuff, but I don't think it's just not the same. And I also don't think this era of child is into that type of stuff as much. Last but not least, on the honorable mention side of Mount Josmore would be Toys R Us. Again, and this one's an age thing for me. Toys R Us is cool. I love going to Toys R Us. We had one here for the longest time, and not too long ago it finally closed. But you know, that was the type of place where like you'd walk in, and it didn't matter how old you were. You were like, oh, look at this. Oh, like a new version of the thing I used to play with when I was a kid. Like, oh, the most recent Power Ranger stuff. Like, man, remember when this stuff was so cool and the original Power Ranger stuff? Like, wow, they still do that. That's so cool. Like, I don't need to go there and spend copious amounts of money on kids' toys. I would go there and spend copious amounts of money on Nerf guns and torture my family if I could. That is probably the one thing, like if there's a toy I would bring back to the original versions and like the way it would be Nerf guns. But that's another topic for another episode. But yeah, like I don't have a need for a gigantic store for the same reasons like Hills, Kmart, stuff like that. Like online shopping takes the cake. The only downfall of it is like you have to go seek things out as opposed to like walking through a place like Toys R Us and being like, ooh, that, or ooh, this. Like, yeah. So with that being said, getting into my actual full tilt Mount Rushmore, I think one of the easy ones for people, despite the popularity of streaming services, I think there's a conversation to be had about there's too many of them. Like, I shouldn't need to pay for 900 streaming services to watch everything I want to watch. Especially when it comes to like movies and like, you almost, it's hard to go out and purchase a movie to buy. Like, are you going to go purchase a movie that you don't know if you like just to watch it once? Or are you going to go find it somewhere? That's what Blockbuster was for. Family movie nights. Let's go. Let's get in the car. Let's go to Blockbuster. Mom and dad pick a movie. Kid 1 picks a movie. Kid 2 picks a movie. Kid 3 picks a movie. Maybe if there's 3 kids, mom and dad pick one for themselves later on. But, so my family, me, my mom, my dad, my sister, right? 4 of us. Quattro. And it was, I got to pick one. Sister got to pick one. Parents got to pick one. If dad picked, it was more historical biopic, maybe is the word I'm looking for. I don't know. Mine was probably something superhero or like related, like something to do with some type of hero or Power Rangers or Ninja Turtles, stuff like that in that genre. And my sister's probably had to do with horses or Tom Cruise, one of the two. But it was awesome. Like, and then you like on the way out, like strategic, putting all the candy, like all the movie candy. Like, so you go to the theater and you like, oh, the box of M&Ms or the box of Reese's Pieces or go ahead and rip me in the comments for that one. I don't care. However you say those two words together. The boxed candy hit different than bagged candy. I don't make the rules. It just did. Movie popcorn. Like, they would sell like the fake thing that looked like the bag of movie popcorn, and it just had a thing of Easy Pop or whatever the hell it was called, sitting there. And, it was far more expensive than it needed to be. And then, you had to, back in the day, you had to Be Kind and Rewind, and you had a certain amount of days to drop the movie off, depending upon how old or new the movie was. So, it's one of those things where it was a full tilt day. Like, you set days aside for it. So much so, Family Video was around. I don't know if they still exist or not. I don't think so. But like, they were kind of at one point direct competition. Then when Blockbuster went under, they hung out and hung on for a bit. But like, we had one here in my town within the last 8 years, because I went in the last 8 years, and me and my wife did it. So like, I can put a context to the time frame there. But yeah, that was fantastic. Another one that I will put up, and I think a lot of people would appreciate this one, especially in today's day and age, Steve & Barry's. Steve & Barry's was the coolest store where you could walk in and there were t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, jackets, anything you could possibly imagine for $8. And there was sports, there was colleges, there's no way that this place had the copyright for all of these things. Probably why they don't exist anymore. Little Luna sighting. That's my fuzzy moon cat. But yeah, so the anything you could, like, you want an Alabama shirt, go there. You want a Bill shirt, go there. You want a Yankee shirt, go there. Every sport, college, NASCAR, pros, they had WWE stuff. They had funny stuff. Like, you could go and buy like novelty t-shirts. Like, you could buy like an I'm with stupid, and then the t-shirt next to it had the arrow going the other way. So you could buy 2 of them and the arrows would be pointing at each other, like I'm with stupid. It was awesome. It was fun. And that place was sweet, because I can tell you, I don't really care to wear a whole lot of branded apparel. I want shirts to say certain things. Like, I'm good with funny. I'm good with sports, stuff like that. But like, I don't really care to wear, like, I mean, back in the day, like American Eagle and Aeropostale, like the shirt just said their, like, the name across the chest. That's not really ever been my thing. I kind of like, I'll do it with like athletic apparel, like Under Armour and Nike and stuff, but I'm not going out of my way to rep a brand. But like, if I can go buy a t-shirt for $8, sold, hard sold. And then those shirts, like, they were decent quality. And when they started to fade or whatever, you cut the sleeves off, had a cool cutoff for the summer, and bought a new one in another color. It was awesome. Full Tilt would bring Steve & Barry's back if that was a thing. These next two, I don't know how controversial or how disagreeing a lot of people are going to be. The first one, media play. All right, this was the a more adult version of Toys R Us to me, and this was back in the day of like CDs. Like they sold vinyls, they sold cassette tapes, movies. Like you could find like weird pop culture toys and collectibles and stuff like that. Like I remember like there were times I found hard to find Power Rangers toys at Media Play when I was into the whole Power Rangers thing. Lo and behold, if you haven't picked up on it, I was a big Power Rangers fan. Get over it. But like, and like not just like the hard to find action figures and stuff, but like, oh, I can go and buy a replica Dragon Dagger, not the toy that you push a button and it plays the synthesizer. It actually looked like real movie quality. I don't think you could blow in it and make noise, but it looked real. Like it looked like the one that the dude in the show used, not a plastic version of that one. Oh, look, I can get a real helmet. Or, oh, look, I can buy replica Ninja Turtle weapons. Things like that. Your replica Jason masks, like movie the posters, movie posters. Oh, my God, that was a huge thing back in the day. Not just movie posters, but just posters in general. Like there'd be the big like stack. It would be like a gigantic book, just plastic, and you'd like, oh look, and like, you're a kid. You're like, oh look, cool things, WWE things. There's Sable's boobs. Like, oh look, like don't let mom and dad catch you looking at Stacy Keebler's butt. You're gonna get in trouble for looking at butt. Like whatever. But like Media Play had all this stuff. All the cool media things, like literally anything you wanted in that realm, and it was perfect, and it was so cool, and I was so upset when it went away. I can't imagine anybody would hear this and be like, yeah, Media Play sucked. I'm glad it's gone. Because you're probably lying, and you're wrong, either way. But I digress. This last one for me is maybe not controversial, but for me... So, if you know me, I do enjoy the occasional libation. Like every adult does. And there are places that I never got to go to upon turning of age to enjoy said libations legally in my state and in my country, and which the age is 21. You can go die for your country and pick who runs it, but don't you dare have a beer for 4 more years. I digress. Like there are a lot of places that like the different one-off bars. You could make the argument of a place like Hooters, but they still exist. So like, no, I'm not gonna. It's not Hooters. This one for me was a place that like it was fun. It had some like there were video games, arcade games, but it was a bar, right? It was a bar restaurant, and one of their gimmicks was cool, fun, crazy cocktails. I'm talking about Kahunaville. There was one in our local mall, the biggest mall in the area, and because at one point there were 4, this is the biggest one right up the 15 minutes up the road from me. And they had one where you'd walk in, and it was right there. Like at one point, that was there, and then they had like a knockoff Lasertron called like Qzar or something like that on the other side, and like the theater was upstairs from it. And if I'm remembering this correctly, the mall's changed so much since then. But like, it just looked so cool. And I think I only went there to eat maybe once, but I just know that somewhere on that menu they had some real fun, wild cocktails, and I never got to experience it, and that makes me sad. Especially now in my older years, in my mid to late 30s, as I die inside saying that out loud. I enjoy the signature cocktail menu from time to time. I enjoy trying the crazy stuff, the weird stuff. I wouldn't put that together, but it sounds pretty damn good. Yeah, show me the signature cocktail list. I want to go back, as I am, to that era to go enjoy a night at Kahunaville. I just want to know what it was like. And I never got to experience it. Somebody bring back Kahunaville. Do it. Somebody who has the money, do it. Kahunaville. top of Mount Josmore. I don't usually rank these. Kahunaville numero uno. Media play close number 2. The other 2 you can sort how you will. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is another fun, weird, wild, and goofily opinionated episode of The Jaws of Life. And as always, I like to remind you guys, be nice to each other out there. You never know who's going through what, who's fighting battles that they don't talk about or you don't ever get to see. And I do know that life gets hard. I do know that things can get you down. I also know that it's not going to rain forever. It never does. And you're not allowed to quit. So keep pushing forward, keep moving forward, and keep on keeping on, guys. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Follow me on the social medias. We'll see you next week on another episode of Mount Josmore.